Alright, so tonight's lesson is lesson 93, and we're dealing with comparative graphs. So we're dealing with graphs that are going to compare two different sets of data or numbers. So go ahead and write your definition. Comparative graphs used to display two or more sets of related data. Now today when we do our lesson, we're going to just deal with two. Sometimes you can have three though. So in class today you have already glued in two separate graphs. So you're going to use these graphs to answer the questions. Make sure you actually write down the questions in your notes, not just the answer. Okay, so here, if we look at your graph, go ahead and look at it. This is the average daily high temperatures in January and July for 5 cities. And it's displayed here in our vertical, meaning vertical going up and down, bar graph. So these are bars. This is the type of graph that we are using. Okay, so we are going to answer the first question. Now, yellow, I colored it yellow. Yours might be light and dark, so it depends. You can color it if you want. So the light yellow is going to be January, and my pink is July. So my first question, in which city was the average July high temp the highest, the temperature the highest? So first off, I look at July, so I'm going to be looking at a pink bar graph, or for yours, the dark color. So I'm looking for which city was the average July high temperature the highest. So I'm looking for pink, and I'm looking for which one is the highest. So I'm going to come all the way over here to Italy, and it looks like Rome, Italy, all the way up there, which is about 89. It's not quite 90 if you look, but it's barely 89, so I'm just going to put Italy. All right, and now I'm going to do the second question, and it says, in which city was the average January, so now we're dealing with my yellow color or your light color, the high temperature the lowest? So we're looking for the yellow or the light color, which is the lowest. So again, you can even take a ruler and stick it across, and you can be able to tell. And when we look, we would say that these two are pretty low, but France is a little bit lower, and it looks like if you follow the line over, it's a little bit above 40 degrees. So France. You can put Paris, France. That's actually the city, but I'm just going to put the country here. Okay, and then number 3. Which city had the smallest range between these two temperatures? So what I'm talking about is their January and their July temperature. The difference between them is going to be the smallest. So their bar graphs are either going to be pretty close to each other or, almost even. So if we look, that's kind of a big gap. That's pretty close. That's a little bit smaller. It's a pretty big gap, and that's a pretty big gap. So Venezuela, that's pretty much going to be right there. There's not much of a difference between January or yellow and July or pink. So I'm going to put Venezuela. All right. And number 4, the last question for this graph. For which city is the average January high temperature greater than the average July temperature? Okay, so we're looking for a city that has the yellow bar that is much taller than the pink bar. So a big gap is what we're looking for. Let's see. Which city is the average January? So our yellow is greater than, which January is greater than the average July temperature? So we're looking for a bar with that yellow is going to be higher than the pink one. So our January temperature, which is weird for us, but January is going to be warmer. The average temperature is warmer than in July. So nope, pink is taller, yellow is taller, pink is taller, pink is taller. So yellow, right here, January, in Sydney, Australia, January is actually warmer than July. So here I'm going to put Australia. Okay. Now you have your second graph that you have put into your notebook today. So let's do this one. Okay, the first question says, what was Austin's population in 1970? And so if you look at this graph, it's a double line graph. Okay, so you see how we have the lines and we have two, meaning double. And the double line graph shows the change in population, so the amount of people in the city of Austin and Pittsburgh. And then we're using two different time periods, from 1950 to 2000. Okay, so if we look at the legend, Austin should have black dots and Pittsburgh should have white dots. I've colored them pink and yellow again. You can color code them if you want, or you can just use the open and closed dots to let you know. Okay, over here we have our population, and this number is going up by 100,000. So 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, all the way up to 700,000. Now down here we have our years: 1950, 1960, 70, 80, 90, and 2000. Okay, so what we do is we go over to our year and we go up to find how many people lived in the city that year. And so if we go up to 1960 and we find our dot here at 200,000 and it's pink, we know Austin in 1960 was about 200,000 people. Now in 1960, if I keep going up to about 600,000, I hit that Pittsburgh. And so there's a difference right there between Austin and Pittsburgh. So that's how you can read a double line graph. So our first question says, what was Austin's population in 1970? So first, what I'm going to do is I always check my date first. So I'm looking, okay, where's 1970? So this line right here, this line right here is 1970, okay? And now I'm looking for Austin, which is pink. So I'm going to hit right about there, okay? And it's really in between, if you look, 200,000 and 300,000. So if I were to make my guess, if it's right in between 200,000 and 300,000, I'm going to put 250,000, about. So in 1970, about 250,000 people lived in Austin. All right, now we're going to do the next question. How much did Pittsburgh's population decrease or go down between 1950 and 2000? So it started off, if you look Pittsburgh yellow, it started off in 1950, way up here. I would say about 700,000. It's a lot, okay, way up here. But when we go down to the year 2000, it dropped down a lot. And if you look, it's again, this one is between 300,000 and 400,000. So I would say about 350,000. And the question asks us, how much did the Pittsburgh's population decrease? So what was the difference if we look at 1960 and then we look at 2000? What was the difference between those numbers? And when we say difference, right there, you should know that that is going to be subtraction. So if I subtract 700,000 minus 350,000, I should get 350,000. So the difference between those 2 years is about 350,000 people. All right, and your lesson practice is no lesson practice today, because tomorrow we are going to be making graphs in class rather than me having you write out a whole graph on your notebook. So have a good night.